A lot going on in Chennai today.
Yes, absolutely, Faye. Thanks for that. Tonight, we turn our attention to Tamil Nadu and Chennai. And even as we speak, we're given to understand that heavy rainfall has begun again. The forecast for the coming days is not good. But what has happened in the last few days is what is appalling and disappointing. Despite the promises of the government, they have failed to live up to those promises, and the people of Chennai have been abandoned, yet again stranded, locked in their homes with absolutely no option because they can't step out. There's waterlogging everywhere. Schools and colleges have already been shut down. But we have something more interesting for you. We're going to expose the lies of the state. Those netas, those officials who've been claiming that the work is done, we are ready for monsoons. 90%, 95% work is done. We are better equipped than USA, United Kingdom. Those lies have been exposed tonight. Let's listen in to what one of the ministers told the media just a couple of days ago.
Capacity of the foreign countries. Earlier in 2004, when tsunami hit our state, our officers are citizens to the Sri Lankan. So we are forefathers. So all the talent officers will effectively and all what are the problems arise, we will sort it out and settle it. No issues will be there. No problem.
No work has been done, sir.
So more and more work has carrying out. If at all one day you come with us, we show all the activities. Totally 95% of the work has been done.
Mr. Muralidharan is joining us this evening, who is going to try and defend the Tamil Nadu state government and take the questions of you, the voter. On the other side, tonight on the debate is Sumansi Raman, who's going to be also the voice of a citizen of the state. And I have three basic questions that we are going to address. If you, the voter, have another question, put it on involve or pick up that phone and dial, and we'll try and address those questions as well. But question number one. Who is accountable for the delay in action? And I ask this question because the papers that I'm going to show you will prove the point that the state government only woke up on 30th of October. Yes, 2 days ago. So why did they wake up so late? Who is going to be accountable for that? That's the first question. Question number two. Have no lessons been learned from the deluge that the state of Tamil Nadu saw in 2015, when all hell broke loose? People were stranded for days. The centre had to step in and help the state out. Have no lessons been learned? Why weren't those problems fixed till now? 2 years have passed since then. And question number three, what is the long-term policy of the state government? How are they going to fix this problem? The people of Tamil Nadu have voted them to power with great amount of faith and a very, very strong mandate. What are they going to do in return for the people of Tamil Nadu? So let's begin. And in my hand are these set of documents, viewers. This is an order of the PWD department. This PWD department order is dated 30th of October 2017. It's also after a Green Tribunal order came out directing the government to push the work of desilting like they are on war footing. And this order then tells officials to begin the work of desilting, details how many crores have been allocated, what are the areas, why they have to do it. It actually goes on to details to say the Chennai city has a number of major waterways and they are being maintained by the Water Resources Department. The dumping of solid waste, debris, and growth of water weeds in major waterways leads to inundation, spreading of epidemic diseases, damages to infrastructure, which is why the desilting work should be taken upon war footing as preparedness, pre-monsoon preparedness. That is the header, Mr. Muralidharan. Congratulations. Pre-monsoon preparedness order was initiated on 30th of October. When did monsoons arrive in Tamil Nadu?
Okay, then let me get started. See, you have shown us a document which is dated 30th. Now that's issued to the PWD. Now I will show you a document which is 18th August. Now this is news in Indian Express. Okay, it is on the 18th of August, and this is a reminder on the 5th of October. Now these are nothing but Finance Ministry issuing a mandate that up to 345 crores will be spent for all these activities. Now these activities include, alerting even hospitals to keep their oxygen cylinders, power backups ready, schools closing up drainages, cleaning up sumps, and ensuring that students do not face any danger. Then it also has a strength of almost 1,000 policemen who will also work with the Tamil Nadu Disaster Recovery Force and help them. So these are all these points were made and the planning was done. The document which you hold is PWD. The PWD document specifically talks about desilting and dredging of all these lakes and small ponds and the other waterways. Now that looks like there is a disconnect.
PWD is under whom right now, Mr. Muralidharan?
No,
It's under the Chief Minister.
It's under the Chief Minister directly. So should we hold him accountable? Should the PWD not have issued this directive to go on a war footing in the month of August when they decided what funds have to be used? Otherwise, why? If the action actually began in August, what would be the need for this order on 30th of October?
What you should know is, ever since the 2015 floods happened, there are work which has been happening in the form of building or enlarging the existing, drainage system which existed in Chennai. For example, earlier it used to be a 3 by 3 feet, 3 into 3 kind of a drainage system we had. Now that's been widened up to 5 feet and a depth of 7 feet. That's been done across Chennai wherever there has been flooding. So there are work which has happened right from 2015.
You are now evading my question.
But
okay, you're now evading my question. I will come to that in a bit. The work is happening. Enough work obviously hasn't happened. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been a need to shut down the schools and colleges on day one with half a day of rainfall. That is what the government decided to do. Suman Siravan wants to come in at this point. Suman, your arguments, please. You were traveling, just landed back this evening. I was actually very concerned, Suman. What if you don't make it on time for the debate? I'm glad you did. But what's the state of affairs in Chennai?
Yeah, Tanvi, I think
that shows the arterial roads
issue is being missed here. Saying that we are setting up control rooms. 1 minute, can I make my point, please? Look, saying that we are setting up control rooms, we are closing schools and colleges, we are alerting hospitals to keep oxygen cylinders. I mean, I think the fundamental focus itself needs to be different. There is complete lack of long-term planning. In 2015, very clearly there were identified areas where it was found that there were significant encroachments which were causing major obstructions to flow of water, and this was one of the major reasons for flooding. Very little has been done. There's been some little bit of widening in one or two key areas of the Adyar River, but besides that, very little has been done in terms of large-scale removal of encroachments. And this is a fundamental problem. There are huge number of habitations that have been built on water bodies, full stop. Now, what are you going to do about them? There are no easy solutions. The point of saying that I have alerted the police or I have alerted the control room, that is the very last step. The whole idea is to see if they are not needed because there is no flooding. And please let us remember very clearly, Tanvi, the rain that we've had in the last 4 days, effectively it started on 30th this time, the monsoon set in. So in the last 4 days has not been unprecedented. It has been at the rate of around 10 to 12 centimeters. We've not even crossed 40 centimeters in these 4 days.
Absolutely.
Remember in 2015 in a single day we had 30-35 centimeters. So please do not take this as unprecedented rainfall. You can't go down that track saying that this has never happened in history. No, this is normal monsoon rainfall like we get every other year. Maybe in the last few years, the monsoon has been quite erratic, so it might have been missed. But this is the kind of rainfall that Chennai is used to for many years.
Maybe, Suman, maybe that is the reason that they...
Let me make one more point.
Finish.
One more point. Let me finish, Tanvi, before I forget. No, 1 minute. The deepening of the reservoirs to store more water in Chennai. This has been planned more than 3 years ago. So far, it has not been done. A new reservoir was to be added at a place called Thervai Kandigai. Now, this was supposed to have been completed at the beginning of 2016, or originally, if I remember right, it was 2015, but certainly in the beginning of 2016. Imagine that could have saved so much of water and stored so much of water which is probably going to go into the sea. Why has all this not been done? So I think that citizens need to start asking questions in terms of the long-term issue. Saying that I've set up a control room and I'm having people rush to the spot to try and rectify, to bail out people. That is the last step. That is something that has to be done anyway.
Yeah.
But the point is, to prevent, in terms of prevention, what has been done is a key question.
Yes, absolutely. What has been done is the key question, which brings me to the second question. Before that, the results are on your screens of the first round of arguments that our panelists have made. Mr. Muralidharan, 90% of our viewers who've participated in the poll are not convinced by what you're saying. So you're going to have to try harder and give us actually specific answers to what we are asking, because the voters are very upset. You got a very, very strong mandate when in the last elections. So let's bring up the second question. Have no lessons been learned from 2015? Now, when Suman C. Raman was talking, it reminded me, Suman, of some of the conversations we had 2 years ago. Same problems exist even today. The construction that has happened, that is now clogging the drains, the illegal construction on the water bodies, all of that. Those are conversations we had 2 years ago, Mr. Muralidharan. What has been done? Why hasn't the government acted in a more tough way?
Okay, Tanvi, let me explain. The first thing is like comparing 2015 and today. Now, what has happened is the monsoon sets in only at this time. But during 2015 and now, we had rains from June. That means the soil is soaked up. The water levels have risen in the groundwater level. Now, that doesn't have any more space to take in water. Point number one. Point number two is Chennai is below sea level. This is very unique for a city. There are not many cities which are below sea level. Third point I will indicate, the floods are not it's not only in India. West of Africa to south of Asia, we have seen floods. We have seen floods in Nepal, Bangladesh, almost 1,000 people have died there. Then it's some parts of US also. So
this is the level of rainfall that should lead to floods, Mr. Muralidharan.
Severe flooding in
10 centimeter of rainfall, then hours of sunlight, big break in between. You've not even had significant amount of rainfall to see these kind of visuals.
No, there is.
How are you comparing it to any other kind of disaster?
Let me finish. Tanvi, let me finish.
The question is what is being done to clear encroachments, Mr. Muralidharan?
The third point. Wait, let me come to that. The third point is you look at Bangalore. Bangalore has never seen floods. That's because it's in a hill station. Anything which, if there's rain, it flows out naturally. Now, if
Bengaluru almost flooded this year, by the way, but that's also because of the failure of the local administration there to build a city that can handle the growth. So, are you saying that you are also equally failing as much as the Siddaramaiah government and the BBMP is? I don't think that's going to help your argument here. Tell me, what are you doing about the encroachments?
No, Tanvi, listen. Tanvi, I'll come back to the encroachments, etc. First, let me finish. Now, this is the MOEF is the Ministry of Environment and Forests. They renamed their name as MOEF and CC, climate change. That's the kind of importance central governments have started giving to climate change. Now, these floods in Bangalore, Bombay and Chennai attributed to this. Now, coming to the talk about the encroachments, I'll tell you, Chennai, today if you see the arterial roads are still clean. When it rains, there would be waterlogging, but within an hour, everything drains out. That's very important for connectivity. Two, with swamp areas, and we're talking about the marshy lands like Pallikarne. Yes, these are perennially a problem because these are encroachments. People are invested money. Can you throw them out from that places? They sit there because they are invested in lakhs. So you can only provide them relief. And what can you do?
Who allowed them, sir?
Sumansi Raman.
Who allowed them there? Which governments allowed them there?
Is that only ADMK government?
Tanvi,
It's not the
first of all,
ADMK
let's
government
be very
alone.
clear. Most of the areas,
You have to take the entire history and check
who
allowed them.
There have been only two governments, sir. Two political parties have ruled since 1967. And the AIDMK has ruled for 28 of the last 42 years. So if you're saying that everything is the DMK's fault, it is absurd. Both parties have allowed this to happen. Both parties have allowed this to happen. Both parties are responsible.
Both parties are responsible.
You can't
take it as
and say it's the DMK's work.
Yes.
Both parties are responsible. The DMK has ruled. The DMK since 1975. In the last 42 years, the DMK has been in power for less than 12 years. ADMK has been in power for 28 years. So please ask yourself, if you are not responsible, who is responsible? One. Second, Tanvi, please understand that most of the areas that are worst affected by the flooding are the areas which have been developed in the last 20-25 years. Please remember, amazingly, even in 2015, at the height of the flood, the areas which had least flooding or no flooding were the areas which were developed by the British. Unbelievable. Most of these suburban areas have been allowed to develop without stormwater drains. We had the Commissioner of Chennai Corporation go on national television and say, please don't blame me. Basically, he didn't say don't blame me, but he meant that when he said, do not say that the stormwater drains have failed in the suburban areas. They have no stormwater drains built, period. So you can imagine the appalling manner in which permissions have been given. Obviously, for what reasons, I don't need to specify, but there's been wanton encroachment. Mind you, this encroachment is not by people building small houses. These are by colleges, these are by large industrial institutions. All kinds of people have encroached. The width of the Adayar River, which is supposed to be at one place 150 to 200 feet, is now 18 to 20 feet in that place. How on earth do you expect it not to flood? It's supposed to be 200 feet. The government records show 200 feet. On the ground, they come and measure, there is 18 feet. How will it not flood?
I want to just, yes, Suman, I want to just pull up some interesting visuals that we've been getting in the last few weeks. Before this, the state of deluge and waterlogging happened, what was it that the government and the government leaders have been up to? There is a centenary celebration that's going on. There have been balloons that have been floating about with big pictures of AIA DMK leader. If we can just pull up those visuals and show it to our viewers as well. There has been back and forth between the authorities, between the state and the court about whether you should use balloons, whether you should use hoardings, whether you should put hoardings in front of traffic signals. So every attempt is being made to first latch on to the legacy of MGR and Jayalalitha, then latch on to power in the state of Tamil Nadu, sell the trust vote, sell the vote of the citizen, switch camps, fight within amongst yourselves. You know, all of that has been happening for the last few months. So today, if the AIADMK government turns around and says, no, we have done a good job in governance, one wonders how and when you were floating these balloons, or planning celebrations, or planning a coup, or trying to get netas from one camp to the other. Mr. Muralidharan, really, is there any governance happening? Tell me two things that have been done since the 2015 deluge. Two things that the government has done. Is the Adayar River issue resolved? No. Is the encroachment issue resolved? No. Is the desilting over? No. Give me two things that have been done.
See, the most important thing, desilting is one thing which there's a disconnect. As I said in the beginning, between the finance ministry and the PWD, yes, I agree on that point. Okay, coming to the other part, like, arranging relief, getting things on standby, alerting people. Those things have been completed. I will not say they've done a fantastic job and it's like 100 out of 100, but I feel the government has done the best it could. But these are natural calamities. When you have natural calamities, you can't just wait for the government to come and help you. And you have something called a social responsibility. I think every citizen has that. And there are a lot of NGOs, the private sector, everybody should chip in and help each other. So that's what we saw in floods, during floods. I think we are going to see that again.
I have a question from Manish, on one of our viewers who's logged on to the Involve app, and he wants to know if there is water logging of similar extent around the Chief Minister's residence. Would either of you be able to tell me that?
Yeah, no.
It's by the banks, Tanvi. It's by the banks of River Dayar.
Tanvi, to a large extent.
Yes, Suman.
Yeah, go ahead. No. See, let's be very clear. Though it is on the banks of the River Adyar, by and large, there is this kind of rain which we have seen over the last few days. It has not caused flooding in the rivers as yet. Okay, so the Adyar and the Kuam, the two major rivers which flow through the city, now they are not in spate like they were in 2015. At least Adyar was in massive spate in 2015. So we are not there yet, and hopefully the rain eases off over the next few days. We won't get there this year. But the point is not that. The point is we are all the time working with bandage solutions. We are working with quick fix solutions, short term. Alert the people, give compensation and be done with it. That's the end of the story. Launch some rescue operation, send some few people in boats to rescue them, and the matter is over. Next year, we'll again do the same thing. We are not taking the necessary long-term measures on a war footing. Not even forget, look at the flood management on one side, look at the water conservation on the other side. Jayalalitha started this rainwater harvesting. It was a pioneering scheme all over India. In fact, she was the first one to bring in legislation to say that rainwater harvesting is mandatory across the city and across the state. Now, hardly any follow-up is happening. I mean, it's just a naam ke vaste kind of thing which is going on. What is the extent of rainwater harvesting that's going on? Who is monitoring it? There are 200 questions. Today, social media in Tamil Nadu has been full of suggestions, full of plans, full of ideas of what the government has already said it should do. It's not, these are all not rocket science ideas that people came up with. Government has already identified it. Expert committees have spoken about it. The quantum of water which is being sent into the sea in the next few days will maybe, for all likelihood, could even be equal to 2 to 3 years of water supply. So you're looking at the other side also of it.
Okay.
So a whole lot of things need to be done. And please, we've got to think long term and not this kind of, I will give 1,000 rupees compensation for each family, I will send boats and have people rescued. That alone is not the solution.
That unfortunately, Suman, has become the norm across most of our states. Don't take any precautionary measures. When something goes wrong, if there is flood, if there is a fire, then go ahead and announce a compensation, and the netas think they can get away with it. But what you said brings me to our third question. What is the long-term policy to resolve this situation? It's become a joke in the city of Chennai that for the first few months there was an acute water shortage. From water scarcity, the city has now turned into a scary city. With the water logging that's happening right now, people don't know if one more day of heavy rainfall happens, what's going to happen to their homes. Mr. Muralidharan, what's the solution? You can't have such extremes and a city like Chennai, people struggling in a city like Chennai every year.
Public-private participation is the key. As you said, like how do we evacuate these people, build them new houses and remove them from the low-lying areas, ensuring that, the waterways are cleared and it's put back how it should be. Definitely that's the focus. That's what it should be. And it's unfortunate, that we talk about this only at the last minute. and I think it's a case with many things in India.
But so
And
how
we,
will
as
this,
Suman
how
said,
will
yes,
any
rightly
of this
said,
happen?
we don't have much of a planning in most of the things.
How will any
And,
planning happen when the netas are all hiding in one resort every second or third month? When they all get gathered into one bus and go and chill in a resort,
Tanvi,
and then there are fights about trust vote, and then suddenly there are celebrations also happening. Like, you know, you want to
Tanvi,
grab the legacy also, Mr. Muralidharan. Honestly tell me, have they not, have the AIA DMK leaders not let down the citizens? Yes, Suman Siraman, coming to you just after this answer. Mr. Muralidharan.
Yes, to a certain extent, yes, I agree with you. But seeing all these, seeing so much of social media and television media influence, I'm sure people are not going to sit back and relax. And thanks to people like you, Times Now, who have taken up strongly, not only this issue, various issues which is happening in Tamil Nadu. I think they should learn from this. And it's a good opportunity for the netas to ensure that we do not suffer again like this in next December. I take your point, and we only have to be apologized to people for whatever slackness or commitment we didn't have.
No, the Chief Minister must apologize. The Chief Minister, if he can't do his job, if he can't even keep his MLAs with him, and if he is going to go to and run around the entire state trying to keep his MLAs together, then he should just quit. And we should have elections, Suman Siraman, because this kind of governance is not what the people deserve.
Tanvi, I'm not going to go into the political angle, but I'm going to look at the governance aspect.
Yes.
3-4 important things. We were told that a new desalination plant, by the way, most of the city of Chennai was buying water till 2-3 weeks ago.
Exactly.
Okay? So just 2 weeks ago, and see what a huge difference it makes.
Yes.
Now, we were promised a new desalination plant in 2015. Okay? And that was supposed to be something like 200 or 300 million liters of water a day, almost about 10%, 15% of the city's supply. Now that remains still on paper. Given it was supposed to have been completed by now, I don't think work has even started on that. Then the new reservoir for the city, that was again supposed to be 2015, and then 2016. Now 17 is over, no sign of the new reservoir. We don't know what happened. Somebody said land acquisition issues. Chalo, whatever it is, nothing has happened. No significant progress. The third, deepening of the existing reservoirs. There's no land acquisition issue, nothing big deal there. That again has not been completed. So there are questions which people want to know the answers to, as to why are these issues not happening? Why are these projects not being taken up? Why are these? Okay, I agree. When you try to demolish large constructions, people will go to court. Sometimes they will get a stay order. That will delay the government. It's beyond government control. But things like a new desalination plant, which is completely within the government's control. Environment Ministry raised some issues, so they replied to them. But this thing has been going on for a year and a half now. So I think that there is something called effective governance and time-bound governance. Right now, we are not seeing that happening. And I think that the people of the state are suffering simply because there is no dynamism in governance. What the state needs is some kind of commitment to time-bound governance. At the moment, we don't have any, whether it is in management of floods or whether it is in the management of the drinking water situation.
Yeah, just a few more comments, Sumant. I didn't want to make it political either. This is about governance. When the leaders, the chief ministers and the deputy chief minister are more interested in holding on to their power rather than governing, then it does become about the people of the state. You know, and if actors and outsiders can take upon the issue
and hand it over to them.
Yes, okay. So Leonard says politicians should stop making excuses, start accepting their mistakes and making amends.
Done on time.
Manish says, considering so many issues, it's high time we should get presidential rule in states that have not achieved their target. This should actually just become the norm now, instead of what we are seeing in so many of our states. If the government has been claimed, if the government has done its best, it would be fearful to think what would be their best. I want to, one more time before we wrap up, play out that assurance, that fake assurance that minister had given us. Minister Jayakumar, the fisheries minister, Let's play that out one more time, because he's the one who now needs to come out and say, I am sorry, I was wrong. I made fake claims. I lied to you. I said 95% of the work is done, whereas my Chief Minister's PWD department only issued the order on 30th of October. Let's play out that bite one more time, please.
Capacity of the foreign countries. Earlier in 2004, when tsunami hit our state, our officers are citizens to the Sri Lankan. So we are forefathers. So all the talent officers will effectively, and all what are the problems arise, we will sort it out and settle it. No issues will be there. No problem.
Work has been done, sir.
So more and more work has carrying out. If at all one day you come with us, we show all the activities. Totally 95% of the work has been done.
Remember these comments, viewers, and the next time Mr. Jayakumar comes asking for your vote, remind him of how he misled you, the voter. Remind him that, so that the netas don't take you for granted. So that every year, for the first half of the year, you're not running around to get water, basic drinking water, basic necessity that you should have and you deserve. And for the next 3 months, you're not running around to get rid of the water inside your house. That has become the state of affairs in Chennai. The poll is on your screens. Post the deluge of 2015, has the government not learnt any lessons? No. 78% people say no, they've not learnt any lessons. Mr. Muralidharan, you've had a tough job defending. People are not really convinced. But actually, it's those ministers who should come out and take these questions of our viewers, because they are the ones who need to answer and who should be made accountable. And if they can't do their job, they should step down and just go home. Let somebody else try and do the job. So, Mansi Raman and Mr. Muralidharan, thank you so much for joining us this evening.